Welcome to Awaken Training Series VIP program. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to be spending the next 12 weeks with you, and the goal of this program is to provide insight into the why behind Awaken Training Series, what's happening with the design. For the 12 weeks that we'll be going through this, we're going to be taking functional bodybuilding principles, elaborating on them. I'm going to be teaching you how you can take those into your own training, into your own coaching, and then ideally be seeing it through the lens of Awaken Training Series. As you're participating, as you're doing the training sessions, you can deepen your understanding of what I'm talking about in these video lectures. So there'll be one per week for the next 12 weeks. And then you can actually apply them and feel what that experience is like doing the training. So we're really trying to speak to an audience that is coaches, gym owners, and then thinking athletes. So as a coach and a gym owner, if you're thinking that you want to start to apply functional bodybuilding principles, it's great to take theory and then go and try and make your best effort at applying it into a real life scenario with a client. However, I strongly believe that if you experience it for yourself as an athlete, you're going to learn and embrace those principles deeper. As a coach, as a gym owner, you need to do these things yourself. That's why you're participating in Awaken Training Series, to learn and to enhance yourself as an athlete. And then applying also these concepts that I'll be talking about into your coaching scenarios, into your gym ownership, to your members, will enhance their experience and hopefully your business overall. Additionally, I'll be using this term thinking athlete. And the thinking athlete is somebody who takes a more thoughtful approach to their training because they want to understand why they're doing what they're doing. This has been my approach for years, and I attribute a lot of my success as an athlete to being a thinking athlete. Somebody who's never just been satisfied with doing the work, but I want to know why I'm doing the work. And this is probably a big portion of the audience out there as well, is athletes that are interested in understanding the path that they're on. And hopefully that these next 12 weeks will help deepen your understanding of what Awaken Training Series is offering and why you're getting a different style of stimulus than maybe you've ever gotten before. Because Awaken Training Series is truly some new principles incorporating functional bodybuilding in a new way for many of you. So in this first week, I'm going to cover 3 topics, and that'll pretty much be the theme as we go. Today's topics are going to be tempo, reactive neuromuscular training, and then we're going to speak about increased effort sets. So I want to give broad topics, and then I also want to get specific about topics within each week or within the weeks of the program design in Awaken Training Series. That's what we'll cover a specific topic as number 3. And then these are 2 general topics that I want you to have a really firm understanding and firm grip on going into the coming 12 weeks. So we'll start with tempo because it's perhaps the most important thing that you need to embrace, you need to respect, and you need to honor as you go through the training program. I've been using a hashtag on social media that says honor the tempo. Honoring the tempo means when a tempo prescription is written into a training program, you must stick to it. It's not enough to just do the exercise and hit the repetitions. Without doing tempo specifically and correctly, you're actually not following the training program correctly. So let me talk a little bit about what tempo is. Well, first off, we'll go through the notation of what tempo looks like. So you're going to see in every workout that we have a 4-digit prescription next to strength training movements. We have program information pages. We've posted other videos on the Facebook group about tempo. There's plenty of resources out there to understand how to read the tempo specifically. So I'm going to review it quickly, but then I'm going to get into more of why is tempo important and why is it valuable for you to honor in your training. So 4 digits. In this case, I'm writing up the example of 4-1-2-1. The first digit, second digit, third digit, and fourth digit are always read as follows. The first digit is the eccentric or down portion of an exercise. The second is always the bottom position of an exercise, the pause, how long you might spend statically at one position. The third is always the concentric or the up phase of an exercise. And then the fourth is going to be a pause at the top, how long you're going to spend at the top of the exercise. So in this example, we would be going down for 4 seconds, pausing for 1 second, up for 2 seconds, and pausing for 1 second at the top. And what that could look like in a squat versus a pull-up is slightly different. So let me just detail what the core difference is. Exercises either start at the top or at the bottom of the range of motion. A squat is an example of an exercise that starts at the top. A pull-up is an example of an exercise that starts at the bottom. People get slightly confused on this topic, so let me just nip it right now. A squat, you're looking at this number as the first number to start the movement. It's going to be the down phase because you're starting at the top. If you're doing a pull-up, the first phase of the exercise is going up or concentric. So you're going to look at the third digit as your starting point. Okay? Simplify that. Make sure you guys are executing it. And one tip is to perhaps download a metronome app, which is something that's going to beep every second that you can play on a speaker while you're performing exercises so you can start to learn how to follow tempo correctly. One thing that's absolutely common amongst all athletes and all trainees is as loads get heavier or as movement complexity enhances or increases, people start to count faster in their heads. So if you're warming up with an exercise and you're counting 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and then you get to your working sets and you're starting to count in your head 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, you're actually speeding up tempo and you're not sticking to true tempo prescriptions. So having a clock running, having a metronome app going, having somebody that can watch the clock for you and count for you while you're doing your strength training movements is really advantageous when you're training, because the last thing we want is people looking up at the clock while they're doing squats, putting their necks and their backs in bad positions while they're exercising. So as I said, I want to talk mostly about the benefits of tempo training. And the first thing is that we're able to control contractions more with tempo prescriptions. The time that you spend under load contracting muscles is truly what defines the dose that you're going to get as an athlete. So time under tension is a big topic when it comes to tempo. How long does the repetition take? And then if you do 6 repetitions, how long did the entire set take? In this example, 4-1-2-1, that's 8 total seconds of work of time under tension per repetition. So 8 seconds, and let's say you did 10 repetitions at that tempo, you are contracting for 80 seconds. That's a lot different than a set that takes 24 seconds. The outcome would be one is more metabolic in nature and one is more absolute strength focused in nature. So we can change the stimulus by changing the tempo, metabolic versus absolute strength. There are other types of purposes or focuses that you might want to have in a lift, and therefore you would change time under tension as a result. Positional strength. So when we look at an exercise, there are parts of the exercise for a certain athlete or for yourself where you struggle to maintain good position or good quality in movement. That's a big focus within Awaken Training Series, is improving quality. Quality is a priority. So if we want to improve quality, we want to be able to focus on specific aspects of the lift. If you are really struggling to maintain good position at the bottom of your squat, then that would be a great place to put in a longer pause in your tempo. So we can manipulate tempos in order to increase positional strength. And then I mentioned this a little bit, but contraction speed. How fast are you contracting the muscle? Are you contracting it slowly? Is it an eccentric contraction where it's really long, time under tension going down versus a speedy or a fast contraction on the way up? Changing contraction speeds changes the stimulus and the dose for the athlete. And then one last thing, as a general rule, lower weights slower than you lift them. I see people make mistakes in reading tempo, and I'll often catch people posting videos of themselves doing slow concentric and a fast eccentric, and that's generally wrong. There may be a few examples where we would write the prescription that way, but generally let's go slower on the way down, faster on the way up. Okay, moving on to number 2, reactive neuromuscular training. So within the first several weeks of Awaken Training Series, you're going to experience reactive neuromuscular training. There are RNT split squats and RNT reverse lunges that will show up in the program right from week 1. RNT, or reactive neuromuscular training, is it's the use of external tension on joints in order to create a stimulus that gets muscles to fire and wake up. What we use is bands specifically in this example around the knee when we're doing single leg knee flexion, that applies a light amount of tension inward to the knee in order to turn on the glute muscles, turn on the glute medius. Where that is really applicable is in the first several weeks of this training program, we're trying to work a lot on motor control. We're not in a big strengthening phase yet. We're at the beginning of the strength curve where we want to really refine how well people are moving. How well you move is in part, it's a big part of that is brain function. How well is your brain connecting to the muscles that are supposed to be working? So by using bands in reactive neuromuscular training, you're able to enhance certain muscle activation, which gives you better motor control, which down the line, when we remove that band, will ideally stay in place and will allow you to recruit more muscles in heavier loaded exercises later in the program and later on in your training. Even if you're a beginner, it's absolutely essential to use some of this type of training to develop the patterns, but if you're an advanced trainee, it's even a great exercise to come back periodically to use RNT, split squats, good mornings, things of that nature in order to reprogram and solidify that movement pattern for you. So key points, we're working on motor control and we're aiming to always have a light band tension. I see this mistake made commonly, people using bands that are too thick and trying to apply too much force. Keep in mind that the band force is not where you're going to be getting the work done. The work is going to be done through doing the contractions up and down with a split squat or a reverse lunge and loading. So you can load heavier to get a deeper stimulus if you're an advanced trainee and you can maintain good tempos. Don't try and increase the band tension. Okay, moving on to the last point of the day, and the title is Increased Effort Sets. So one of the major goals within Awaken Training Series, and when this program was being thought up in my head, was I don't want to just create a program for people to go follow and then they're going to move on to the next thing in life. I want them to learn something different through the training. Expose you to new training styles that will now serve as perhaps a template that you could use in the future and substitute in different exercises or different movements that are more appropriate to you or fit your needs at that time. So the training style here is learning how to use conditioning work and create a pace increase as you go through. This is so uncommon when we watch people doing mixed modal fitness. The most common thing we see is people start with high power, and as they progress, they fatigue, and their power output goes down. So I kind of illustrated that with this curve. You know, this would be set 1 or round 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. Power is high and it starts to drop off. So as you get to the later ends of the workout over here, where the power is relatively low, we also know that quality starts to go down. So the goal for this type of training is to actually purposefully start slow, and as you work, attempt to increase your pace and your power on the final sets in a training session. What that's going to ensure is that quality remains high. It's also going to teach you or your athletes how to maintain better pacing when doing metabolic conditioning in the aerobic or perhaps at the end of a training session anaerobic setting. So we're learning pacing, and we're introducing you to a new training style that's going to be a theme on Tuesdays in your training. So the example in the first week is you have to do increasing effort sets of a kettlebell swing, then a hollow hold, then a box jump, and then a row for a specific amount of time. There's rest in between each. So how you would apply an increasing effort principle here is perhaps with the swings, you would start with a moderate weight, and with each set you might increase your weight. A hollow hold as an isometric, there isn't really a way to increase your effort there other than to just stick to the time frame and hold good position. The box jump is another place you might increase your effort by raising the height of that box throughout each set. And then absolutely, the rower is a great tool to follow, you know, the metrics that are on the computer to watch your power increase. So the recommendation would be to start with a pace that's very comfortable to you in the next set. Increase that pace. So if you're using wattage, you might start at 150 watts and sustain it throughout the whole 60 seconds. In the next set, you go up to 170 watts, 190 watts, 210 watts. So you're finishing at something that's harder. This has been a very great way for people to experience intensity within the training program, and there's not a ton of intensity that we have in Awaken Training Series, but they experience intensity as they go on and on through these sets. All right, so just to recap, we're here to speak directly to coaches, gym owners, and thinking athletes. Honor your tempo. Remember, as a common mistake, I see people misreading this and going slower on the way up than on the way down. We want to make sure we're typically going slower on the way down, faster on the way up. I also see people rushing their tempos as weights get heavier. We're not trying to lift heavy weights. We're trying to move well. We're trying to stick to tempos and stick to rep ranges. Commonly, people will get way ahead of themselves too early in the program. By week 6, I see tempos are getting thrown out the window and people are trying to PR. There's going to be a time to PR. It's at the end of the training program. Trust the program, trust the tempos, and stick to them. Reactive neuromuscular training, stick with light bands. We're just trying to activate muscles and work on motor control. And then increasing effort sets. You're going to make mistakes on this. The first round, the second week, you're probably going to go out too hot at the beginning and you're going to see a decrease in power towards the end. It's okay to make mistakes, but we're trying to learn. So learn each week. Pace yourself a little bit in the front end, get faster at the end. Okay, the last thing to say is that each week we're going to have a homework assignment for you to go and deepen your understanding of these principles. I encourage you to, whether you're a coach or not, to approach it from a coach's mindset. How would you apply these principles, maybe not only to yourself, but to a friend or to a coworker or to a family member or one of your clients? This will help deepen your understanding of what you're doing yourself. There's going to be a place to submit that homework. I'll have a look at it, and we'll be having discussions when we get onto our Zoom calls a couple times over the course of this program. So we'll see you next week.